Hello everybody, I hope we are in fact recording. We should be. Everybody there, can you see me? Yeah, it says recording. Good. So here we are, we're going to go right through the whole form, just so that you have it, so that we can do this. You can do this whenever you want during the week. This is a form for Tai Chi. And we're going to begin with resting pose. Feet a little bit apart, a few inches between or a couple of inches maybe between the heels. And the purpose of that is that when we sink and shift and step, we have a good base. If we're too close together, we step out, we're going to be like this. So it gives a good base to have those feet apart. We do not want to fall. We're going to prevent falls by doing this, by practicing this. And our first movement is rocking motion. I'm going to sink. I'm going to be mirroring this. Going to sink, shift to your right, step out with your left foot. Turn the toes in a little bit. Bring the hands out. Go down and back, lifting the toes up a little bit, just the toes, not the heels, and then up on the toes. And let your breath follow naturally, just whatever feels comfortable, wherever it goes by itself. It's 3 movements, so we're going to do 9 of each movement. Everything is the magic number, and this is 9. That's the complete form for each of the movements. Try and keep up with where I am. There's absolutely no hurry. And one more. We're going to go up. We're going to come back. And we're going to bring the foot in, back to your right, and back to resting pose. And take a deep breath. Bird flaps wings. Hands around the dantian. Up on the toes as we go down. Once. Twice. A third time, circle the wrists. Bring them slowly back in. Notice how the upper arms stay close to the body. Third one. Three. Circle. 3 3s are 9. That completes bird flaps wings. We gently go back to the graceful conclusion of resting pose. Around the platter to the left side, sink, shift to your right, step out with your left heel first, hands up to the heart, trace a round platter. Go forward, the back heel comes up. Go back, the front toe comes up. Ninth one, we end here. Bring the leg back in, back to resting pose. Take a breath. Around the platter to the other side. Sink, shift, step, hands. Hands roll out to the side of the leg is out. And one more. And when we come back in, back to resting pose. And think about this in terms of clearing, centering, letting go. Let go of whatever comes up. Now to the left side with around the platter variation. Sink, shift, start with the right heel. Hands up to the heart. That's where we pick the ball up at the corner as we go around. Get polarity between the hands this way. And 9, last one. Bring the leg in, center, back to resting pose. Take a breath. Sink, shift, step, hands. I don't want to speak a lot during this demonstration or during this practice because this is for you to follow. In the sessions, we'll learn more in details and more concepts. And one more. Bring the leg in, center, back to resting pose. Our next movement is bass drum. Going to sink, shift, step out with the left as we do in almost all but one movement. Circle the hands around to the belly, down and back. And one more. Bring the leg back in as the center, as the hand just float back down to resting pose. Bass drum to the right side. Sink, shift, step. Straighten that toe out a little bit when you step forward. And one more. Bring the leg back in as the hands float back down to resting pose. Take a breath. We do a daughter in the mountaintop again, our backward, forward movement of the feet. Sink, shift, step out with the left. And for this one, the hands just open where they are, because we're going to go up high. Left hand on the inside, right on the outside. Moving forward, going up. Moving back, coming down. And one more. Bring the leg back down to circle the hands back into resting pose. And take a breath. Daughter on the mountaintop to the right side. You're going to sink, shift, step, hands. And one more. Bring the leg back in, circle the hands back to resting pose. Breathe. Daughter in the valley. To the left side, first start with the left, as always. Sink, shift, step. Hands come up as we're going to go low. And one more. Bring the hands up, bring the leg back in. Pull the hands apart a little bit and then fold them back down. Gently they ride back down to resting pose. Daughter in the valley now to the right side. Sink, shift, step, hands. And one more. back in, center, back to resting pose. And we breathe. Then we have our first side-to-side movement. Carry them all to the side. We're going to sink, shift to your right, step out with your left foot. Again, heel toe, even on the stepping out to the side. Ball is being held here at your right shoulder. Swing it around once. Twice, turning from the dantian. 2. And on the third one, bring the leg back in. And we're going to keep moving over to our left 3 times, and then back 3 times. Third time, we bring the leg in. Pause for a moment here with a nice breath. Resting pose. We're going to sink now. Shoulders up to the left shoulder, over to the right side now. Go back to where we started. Nice twist in the torso, but keeping the head straight. Third one, bring the leg back in. Resting pose, go right through it. Sink, twist, step. And then the third one, we bring the leg in and we're back to where we began. Our next movement is a backward forward movement again. Push pull, where we're going to trace the ellipse like a football. To sink, shift to your right, step out with your left, hands up, down a little bit, turn them over, bring the energy back. Pushing out, bringing it back. And the hands never stop. They are slowly turning all through the movement. One more. I think that's one more. 9. We bring it back in. And back to resting pose. Take a breath. And now to the right side. Sink, shift, step out with your right foot again, making that toe a bit straighter. Hands up. Let them keep moving. And remember, you can't do this wrong. You can only do it better. So be easy on yourself. And if you only end up doing 7 movements, that's fine. If you do 11, that's okay. There's no magic to this. It's just a beautiful, beautiful centering, cultivating of the Chih. And one more. Bring the leg back in, center, resting pose. You might check your toes to see if your toes are equal. Look across there. Sometimes I end up creeping up a bit or back a bit, and you can just adjust as needed. Our next movement is pulling in the energy. And for this, we're going to do kind of a round the platter move with the palms up. And the little guided imagery here of the light from the furthest star coming into your hands. That's another beautiful moment. Sink, shift, step, hands up to the heart. We turn them over. And we go around, imaging the light from the furthest star. And one more. Ninth one, we're going to bring the leg back in. Turn the hands over, back to resting pose. Pulling in the energy to the right side, sink, shift, step, hands. Turn the hands over, pulling in the light from the furthest star into your hands. And one more. Bring the leg in as we come around, turn the hands over gently, they float back down to resting pose. Take a nice breath there. Our next movement is a side-to-side movement, and this one takes a little bit more focus, but the more you do it, the easier it is. This is going to be pulling taffy. And the first one is going to be right, put out your left foot, pull the taffy along. If you've done this in class with me, it won't be so difficult. Out, to the left, back. Out to the right, back where we came from. And that counts as 2. Out. And then back, we count that as 3. Then pulling taffy, we call anchor taffy. We're going to sink, step out with the left foot, pigeon toe a little bit, and bring the foot toe back in. Stay over onto the left side. Then we come out with the right foot, pigeon toe. Place the foot first, and before you do the taffy, let that toe follow the hand. Come back. And when we do anchor taffy, when we go forward, we'll leave the back foot down. The heel doesn't come up. Now we use our wrists again to make circles, circle wrist taffy. Sink up on the toes once, sink up on the toes twice, sink and move into that pulling taffy movement. Sink the toes once, sink up on the toes twice, sink up on the toes and back to your right side where we started from. Sink. Sink. Once, twice, third time, stay sunk and go right back through it to pulling the taffy back to where we started. Good. Now our fourth movement is the perpetual motion taffy. And we're going to keep our legs out right where we put them. Going to sink, shift, step, and leave the foot there. Heel toe back, heel toe out. Heel toe back. Head remains forward, like in all these things. Soft knees sunk. And one more, we go out, and then we come back. Fold the hands back in, bring the leg back into place, back to resting pose. And take a breath. Now we're going to do the swimming pose, which I like to working the pulley, which is great for the upper body and getting more, again, that twist. And again, we're back to our front to back footwork, which we all know so well now. Sink, shift out with the left foot, and the left hand comes up, right hand comes over, and we push forward. Hands turn at the same time as we come back. Back heel rises as we go forward. Front toe raises as we come back. The torso, however, always remains erect, straight up, never tilts in either direction. And one more. We conclude this, we bring the leg back in as we bring the hand back in, and the hand just fold gently back to resting pose. Take a breath. And we do working the pulley now to the other side. We're going to sink, shift, step, hand, right hand up, left hand over this time. And one more. Push out. Bring the hands. Bring the leg back in as we bring the hand back in. Fold over back to resting pose. And we take a nice cleansing breath. Now do light at the top of the head, light at the temple. We're going to scoop up some energy, bring it over our heads, hands parallel to each other above the head. We're going to sink up on the toes once, sink up on the toes twice, sink up on the toes 3 times, and just back to soft knees. Hold it there. Circle the hand 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And hold for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we sink up on the toes once, sink up on the toes twice, sink up on the toes that 3rd time. We go all the way out, all the way out, all the way out, around. Bring the energy back to resting pose, and go right through it to scoop up some more energy now to the side of the head or the light at the temple. And again, here, same hand motion, sink up on the toes once, sink up on the toes twice, sink up on the toes 3 times, hold, circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice to really engage the wrists in that movement. Hold for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then sink up on the toes once. Sink, open up twice. Sink, open up all the way on the 3rd time. Up on the toes, back down, and back to resting pose. And a nice breath. Speaking of breath, we're now going to do joyous breath. Really oxygenating that system, and we know how good this is for our lungs and for our immune system. So for this, we're going to sink, shift out, step out with the left foot, kind of get bring the toes in a bit, get that balance between the 2 legs. You're going to breathe out through the nose and in through the nose. And then 4 short staccato breaths out through the nose. This is all through a nasal breathing here. So we're going to go to breathing out. Turn the hands up, coming up on the toes. Bring the hands up to your shoulders. Turn the hands over. You're filled with oxygen. And then 4 short staccato breaths through the nose. 3 times you're going to do this movement. One more. Bring the leg back in. Fold the hands back in. We're now again at resting pose. Breathing clearly. Now we're going to do carry the ball. We're going to do passing clouds. And for this, again, it's a side movement. But for this, we're going to step out with the right foot. And instead of the left as our first movement. And that's different for us because usually we always step out with the left foot. But it's the one movement, we step out with the right. And as we step out with the right, the left hand goes into motion. We're going to sink, twist a bit, and step out the left there. As the hand comes around, the right hand comes around. Left hand comes into play. Shifting from one leg to the other. Head still remains straight. Top hand facing us. Bottom hand like it's drifting through water. And then we will bring the leg back in. Bring the hands around back to resting pose. And that's one of those movements we could do for as many as you like. It's a wonderful, all-encompassing movement. And then we end with our last movement is the 6 healing sounds. And actually, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this so that I did this properly. And 5 times. Bring it back in, back to resting pose. And then with our heel up to the right ankle, left heel to the right ankle, which will be flexing. Move that in, balance our energy over those 2 legs. And then bring the hands up for our cosmic consciousness pose. The arms are parallel to the ground, to the earth. Hands are a few inches separated. And we're looking through kind of the thumbs. And I like to hold this for about 30 seconds, giving the Chih a chance to find where I need healing, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And we slowly pull the hands apart, lower the heel, bringing the hands back down to resting pose. Feel those feet planted in the earth. Feel that central meridian, the Tai Chi meridian. And then we bring the hands up to prayer pose. And although this is not part of the traditional Tai Chi practice, I like to take this energy out as a loving kindness movement out to all the planet. So beginning, going out 3 times. I like to bring the energy out to my neighbors, to the town I'm in, to the state I live in, all the people who need relief from their suffering, out to the country, to the northern hemisphere, to the southern hemisphere, then out to all those in need throughout the world that need love and support and health and peace. And that's how I conclude the movement. So namaste, much peace to everybody here. And continue on with Tai Chi. Justin Stone would say we're all helping to heal the world. He's the originator. If you go to my website at oceanoflighttaichi.com, you'll get a little more information. Okay, much peace to you all.